tonight, getting answers after a rental company that owns nearly 4,500 homes in the Carolinas has come under fire. Invitation Homes is the country's largest landlord of single-family homes. It has been ordered by the Federal Trade Commission to refund $48 million to renters across the country for various unlawful business practices. Well, WBTV's Claire Kopsky has been looking into this issue, and she's joining us now live in the WBTV newsroom with more on this story that impacts a lot of folks. Claire.
Well, John, I spoke to a family that's been dealing with issues with the rental company at their home in Charlotte since Tropical Storm Debbie hit in August. After weeks of trying, they say Invitation Homes was not fixing the electrical and mold issues caused by water damage from the storm that made their home uninhabitable. This new federal lawsuit that was filed in an Atlanta court outlines a litany of issues the Federal Trade Commission says Invitation Homes knew about, including hidden monthly fees, faulty move-in and move-out inspections, and, as the Brooks family experienced, a failing 24/7 emergency maintenance service.
The night Tropical Storm Debbie arrived in Charlotte, Skylar Brooks woke up to flickering power.
I walk into the garage, I open up the box, and water is just flowing out of the electrical panel, like literally flowing like a creek.
A frightening sight for anyone, but especially those who've experienced this before.
I lost my childhood home to a house fire, an electrical house fire. So knowing that there's this huge potential for another electrical fire is not comforting to us at all. And the way that they've managed the entire situation doesn't make us want to stay here.
He's talking about Invitation Homes, the company that owns their home and nearly 4,500 other homes in the Charlotte area.
We've probably spoken to like 30 people in the process, and each time had to retell our story to get anywhere.
Their home didn't have power, and the smell of mold and mildew grew as Brooks continued to submit requests through the required online portal to fix each problem.
We had to put in a separate maintenance request to have someone come check out for the leak. They sent out a roofer. He said, well, it's not the roof. So we had to put in another request.
A painstaking process that he would have to leave work for to let in another contractor.
Probably a dozen contractors come by to give quotes, and that was because we had to continuously reach back to the property management company and say, hey, the person you sent out is only here for this one small thing. This is a much larger problem that we're trying to tell you guys.
Meanwhile, Brooks was still calling Invitation Homes, hoping they'd send someone out to manage what turned into a larger issue.
I mean, at one point she was like, look, this is way past my pay grade. I don't know how to help you.
So you feel like you literally just have to be patient and wait and live in a potentially black mold growing situation?
Yeah.
We reached out to Invitation Homes asking how they vet their contractors, if they ever send general contractors or project managers to their properties to handle multi-issue projects. The company responded saying that they send maintenance professionals to each home at least twice a year for proactive maintenance visits. Brooks says at their home, that's never happened.
The leak was coming from the bottom right corner of the window.
Brooks isn't the only renter experiencing issues with maintenance. In a recent lawsuit filed by the Federal Trade Commission, a consultant report outlines that the current experience is too slow compared to competitors and not as high quality due to maintenance workers not fixing the core issue. The lawsuit also states that rather than address these issues, Invitation Homes has remained laser-focused on its bottom line, continuing to deceive and harm consumers.
Well, if a judge approves the $48 million settlement, the Federal Trade Commission will contact renters who are eligible for a refund. If you think that you've experienced fraudulent behavior from Invitation Homes or another landlord or business, you can report that to the FTC. We have the link for how to do that in this story on our website. Live in the newsroom, I'm Claire Kopsky, WBTV, on your side.
All right, Claire, thank you. Well, we are